Hello and welcome back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where last time we played through the Shell Cup on Mirror Mode, and today we're going to be playing through the Banana Cup on Mirror Mode, and we're going to be playing as me! And we unlocked a new glider last time. What did we unlock? We unlocked the Paper Glider, so... wish we could have had that for yesterday's episode when we played as Isabelle, but it's fine. So I guess we'll use this today, and we'll use them along with the slick tires, because why not, and the teddy buggy, because I really like the teddy buggy. Since this is me here playing as, figured, may as well play as an ATV that I really like to use. Here are the stats, and once again we're going to make sure that smart steering and auto acceleration are indeed disabled, and so without further ado, let's dive into the Banana Cup on Mirror Mode. Let's do this. I keep cutting it very close with these turbo starts. I feel like I always feel like I'm going too early, and I get the boost anyway. Anyway, so, if you remember from the end of the last episode, we spent the previous video talking about Sonic Colors Ultimate and how the launch has been controversial because there's been a lot of reported bugs across all platforms, but a lot of the major ones are stemming from the Switch version. And I mentioned that I wanted to get into a bit more of the topic of Switch ports in general before I make a definitive call on what the deal is with Sonic Colors Ultimate, because a lot of people, or I guess I should say, some people are blaming Sega for being the ones to butcher the port, and some people are blaming Nintendo, or I guess blaming the Switch in general for being a console that can't handle the load, I guess. So I kind of want to get a little bit more in depth to hear or to talk about this, because I don't think it's as cut and dry as some people make it out to be. So on the topic of Switch ports, there's on the subject of the Switch not being capable enough to handle the load of Sonic Colors Ultimate, let's get an objective fact out of the way right now. Of the 3 current gen consoles available, the Switch is the least powerful of all 3. I don't think you're gonna find anyone to dispute that. Now, you might, because believe it or not, I did say, about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, I was having a conversation with someone, and I said, objectively, this is the most powerful of the 3 consoles, and they said, no, it's not. That's not objective. You can't be objective about anything. I'm like, I just want to smash my head into a brick wall whenever I hear that. It's like, buddy, I can get the system specs of all 3 consoles and compare them for you. I'm not even saying which one I like the best. I'm not saying. I don't... like, literally irrelevant to what I like the best or what the actual best console is. Strictly speaking, in terms of what the power functionality of them is, there is an objective answer to what is the most powerful console available on the market right now. But to some people, even if you get a list of specifications and what the processors and what the GPUs are and all that, they'll still be like, nah. So I'm hoping we can at least overcome that hurdle of, yes, the Switch is the least powerful of the 3 current-gen consoles. Even if you were to downscale it to the Xbox One and PS4, it would still be the least powerful among those. Because you might say that, well, it's not fair to compare it to the Series X and PS5 because their next-gen Switch is still from the era of the Xbox One and PS4, which is fair. So I think if you compare them against those, my answer will still remain the same. So that's something I want to get out of the way first and foremost. However, that is not indicative of my position. I just want to make that crystal clear before we move any further. I didn't intend to spend so much time talking about the process of being able to objectively say, hey, this console is more powerful than that console, but there's some people who think that's impossible, and it kind of grinds my gears a little bit. Anyway, so we'll get into a bit more in the next race. We'll get a better... We'll start actually diving into the topic. I'm hoping that I can actually get through all my thoughts in one video, but if we can't, then, oh well. So now that we've overcome the hurdle of saying that the Switch is the least powerful of the 3 current-gen consoles available, it shouldn't be a surprise then that, generally speaking, when a game gets ported to the Switch, it will run the least efficiently and be the least performance-capable of any available version. So the one that immediately comes to my head is Doom Eternal. Now, I've not played Doom Eternal on the Switch, so I can't speak to this personally, but I have seen footage, and when you compare it to the other consoles and PC, it's not even kind of comparable. It's nice that it runs, like the fact that it runs on the Switch at all is like thumbs up, you did a good thing there, but obviously the frame rate and graphical fidelity compared to the other versions is like a whole different thing. So it's not unheard of for a Switch port to be considerably lacking in regards to the other versions. But even if you want to get more specific in terms of, like, the actual problems with the game, that being, like, load times and stuff like that, that is also indicative of the hardware's capability in terms of, like, so you might say, well, that could also be a symptom of code optimization, and my answer to that would be, it's kind of both, because if you take a poorly optimized game and you run it on 3 consoles, it will still run more poorly on the less powerful consoles, to the point where you might not even notice that. Like, for instance, a poorly optimized game, if you try to run that on the Series X or the PS5, you may not even notice it because the load times of those consoles are so fast that you might not even notice it's poor optimization. Whereas if you were to run that on the Switch, then you might be like, alright, why is it taking so long? And that's because the code is jumbled together like a bowl of spaghetti. So that's kind of where that stems from. So, and the one that immediately comes to my head, oh, Metal Mario, please no, Metal Mario, please no, Metal Mario, please no! Oh, okay. That was closer than I thought. That was insanely close. Good Lord Almighty. That could have gone a lot better, but still, we're fine. We're fine. We're all fine. We're good. Alright, next race. So the example that immediately comes to head would be A Hat in Time. Now, A Hat in Time is not a game that I'm particularly a big fan of. I think it's a good game, but it's not exactly anything mind-blowing. I found it very painful playing that game earlier this year, so I have no desire to revisit it in any capacity moving forward. So there's that. I also got into conversations with people in the comments because there's people who really, really love that game, and then you point out faults in game design, and they're like, no, so it's just a painful experience all around. However, one thing I do know is that the Switch version of that game is absolutely terrible. Specifically in regards to load times. The load times for the Switch version of A Hat in Time are absolutely horrendous. It honestly rivals Sonic 06 in terms of insanely long loads. In fact, I think they might actually be longer than Sonic 06. I'm not even kidding. I have not done the measurements, but from memory, I think they might actually be... Now, it's not entirely fair, because Sonic 06, I think, has more loading screens, whereas with A Hat in Time, you load the level once and you're done. But obviously, you have side quests and loading hub worlds and things like that for Sonic 06 and cutscenes and all that, so it's a bit of a different story. But point being, Hat in Time is very poorly optimized for the Switch. Now, so my point here would be, it's not uncommon to see a Switch port be of poor optimization quality. However, the rebuttal to that would be, okay, but like you have things like Skyward Sword, or the game, which is also a port of a Wii game, that runs like a dream, which I can't testify to the fact of that, but I trust people's word for it. I have no reason to doubt people are lying about that. And even if you look at stuff like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe runs beautifully, it looks gorgeous, and it runs like a dream with a smooth 1080p 60 FPS. Or Super Mario Odyssey, which also runs at a clean 60 FPS with jaw-dropping visuals. And, you know, the general consensus is, well, if these games can run so well, why can't Sonic Colors Ultimate? And my answer is pretty much, like, honestly, I kind of feel surprised I have to even say this, but those games are first-party titles, in the sense that Nintendo themselves are, whether they're, because I think another company is also worked on the Skyward Sword port, I'm not sure though, but Nintendo at least has a very strong hand in the creation of those games, so they kind of, like, Nintendo knows their system, they know how their hardware works, they know the limits of it, they know they know what makes it tick, so they know how best to optimize their games for the system that you're playing it on. So that just follows logically, that they would understand what makes their system tick, so they know how to optimize for it. So it's not quite the same thing, whereas you take a third party like Sega, and then all bets are off, and that's kind of what I want to tie this all together with. So when people say, "Oh, but Skyward Sword," it's not really a fair comparison because you're comparing a game that was ported by the people who made the software or made the hardware, and the software, who engineered and constructed the hardware that it's being built for, to a company that is just, because that's always been the case. Like, even back in the days of the Wii U with the gamepad, like, you have companies like Nintendo who made great use out of the gamepad's functionality for things like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and Mario Kart 8, which I feel like is more applicable since we're playing it right now. So they made the system, they know how the gamepad works, they know how to make it, they know what makes it tick. Whereas third-party developers are like, what, you put a second screen on the thing? Like, I can't port this to the, because the Xbox One and PS4 is a more, like, obviously it's not the same, obviously there's a bit more to it than just, like, changing code or whatever, because I know I heard a YouTuber say, no big deal, change some code. It's like, it's a bit more to it than that, but okay. But it is more of a streamlined process, because a lot of game engines nowadays come, like, compatible with, like, the idea of, like, you want to port your game to all these platforms, so they have it built in, they have those functions built in anticipating that. But with the Wii U, it's not that simple, because you have an entire second screen to account for, which while Nintendo knows how to make use of it, a lot of third-party developers either didn't know how or didn't have the time or desire to care to learn how, because it is so radically different to the other mainstream consoles on the market that just wasn't worth the time, which was one of many reasons why the reason why if we wanted to go into why the Wii U flopped, we'd be here all day, but that's just a topic for a different day. Point being, Nintendo's, like, it's not abnormal for developers to have a harder time getting their system or getting their game to work on Nintendo's console for one reason or another. So that's kind of, like, even with Sonic Unleashed, like, I know for a fact that the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed is heavily neutered compared to the 360 PS3 versions, because on those versions you have, like, a fully functioning, fully fleshed out hub world, whereas with the Wii you just have, like, a point-and-click select screen for all the levels, and it's kind of lame. So it's very different in terms, like, playing the Wii version of that game is very different from playing the 360 or PS3 version of that game. So it's not, like, this isn't exactly a new thing. I honestly was kind of surprised, because a lot of the bugs on the Xbox, PC, and PS4 versions are just like, yeah, those things need to get fixed, but they're not game-ruining experiences. Even if you say Death by a Thousand Cuts, it's more like Death by a Thousand, like, slap on the wrists kind of thing. But in regards to these Switch-specific things, in terms of whether it's Sega's, are we gonna fall? Yeah, I had a feeling we're gonna fall. I think we have enough of leads, so it won't matter, but I think, yeah, we still fell. Yeah, so in terms of whether it's Sega's fault or whether it's the Switch's fault, I would say that they kind of both share a little bit to blame, because by and large, like, so the third-party ports that run really well are more simple games, things like Cuphead and Phoenix Wright Trilogy and Stardew Valley. Those are the games that you'll find running at a smooth 60 FPS, whereas more complex games kind of struggle to function properly on it. So it's kind of it's a limitation of the hardware, bundled on to the fact that the code is clearly not well optimized in general, because the other systems don't have problems with load times, nor do they have problems with these insane visual glitches. And I don't think it's coincidence that the Switch is the only platform where that's a problem. So that's the summation of my thoughts on the Sonic Heroes Ultimate situation. Anyway, let's give you the results. Alright, and we didn't unlock anything new, but that's fine. I'm sure we'll unlock some next time. Anyway, that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time to catch you all tomorrow for some more Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Goodbye.